guess some friends through the program. That was the biggest support, was them. And when I'd have issues, I could talk to them about it and have people to lean on, and everyone's going through the same thing. And yeah, some people might have gone to have traveled before on their own, but a lot of people understand, for a lot of people it's their first time traveling alone. And also people get it when you're missing home, or you're homesick, or you're stressed because you messed up on something, on booking something, and now everything's a mess. And you had people to lean on, because we got to know each other so quickly in the beginning of the program. And because you're so tightly, you're tight-knit, because you're in the same space all the time, so you get to know everyone really well. And having roommates helped. And also just having even our classes, we'd lean on each other for homework, and so we'd share study notes, and we'd get people to proofread essays. So it was really this other classmates I found that helped me get through it. Yeah, for sure.
I would say the same. I think in the beginning, just having my friend and Kelsey, she was just so organized, and she had spreadsheets and all these things, and she kind of kept me on track of everything. But when we got to Italy at separate times, she flew into Rome and I flew into Florence. So it was still navigating, but I did make friends. I stayed at a hostel in Florence, and I made a friend, and he was kind of the one who showed me how to get to the train station and how to read the train screen. And so, but yeah, in Cortona, I think that definitely just, I feel my best friend was probably out of that was my roommate, the one that I was paired with. And we just kind of grew a super strong bond, because we were always together. And so that was really helpful. But also, classmates were very helpful in understanding what we needed to do, because everything could just be so overwhelming, and the expectations are so different from nursing. We had Marco as our professor, and I just felt his expectations, taking an art and history course, I felt it was just so different than nursing, which is so structured. And you need all these little things, and he was just more relaxed about the coursework, which was stressful, because I was what do I need to do? What do I need to read?
Yeah. So no, I agree. I think the person I got the closest with too was my roommates. In the program. And also, I guess for myself, the girls next door too. We often in the evenings a bunch of us would just go and sit on the bed and just visit and talk about things. And I remember one night, I think we ended up doing a little karaoke in the room or something. Another thing I guess too I noticed, which I don't know if you noticed as well, but in the movies and stuff, being a foreigner going to to a new country, it's always everyone's so rude to you. In the movies, I always noticed. And I've at least found that there were good people. There were characters, but there were good people. I needed help with the trains on my first day, and I ended up asking one of the train guards, and they walked me through it on how to understand it. Nice, and they didn't have to. They could have been oh, it's just that way, and go off and do the rest of their things. And I found that, there were of course people that aren't going to be nice and helpful, but there were also people that are kind. Which, being alone, you don't think there would be as much. Yeah. Did you notice that or not really?
I think that there's, I was oh my God, everybody's so nice, everyone's so friendly. But then I definitely was put in my place sometimes where people were we only use cash here. Somebody told me, and they were we don't use card here. And so I was oh. Yeah, but there was just some instances, but I feel overall, I think it's just the world, probably. Everyone's,
Exactly. And there's of course the stereotypes of for example French people being very
off-putting.
And I found they were very nice and very kind and helpful, and people in general, the world in general is kind.
It's just mixed with
and you're gonna get a bad egg every now and then, but and overall I think that there's a lot of good people, which was nice to see. Going to Cortona in Italy was a breath of fresh air for me, because everything was more taken care of. We had our meals planned, and we weren't on our own for food, and we weren't on our own for everything. And being in a hotel dorm situation is like we had pillows provided for us and blankets and towels, and in France they had nothing. You got into the room, there was a mattress, there was a sheet, and that was it. And so
that's so funny that you say that, because I felt like I was like living like a cave woman in Italy.
Oh no.
I was like, oh my God, I'm washing my clothes by hand. I was like, I'm drying them. I felt like I was completely humbled in that experience.
Yeah.
So it's funny that
I felt like I was getting a luxury experience going from France to Italy. Yeah, I was really happy, and especially having breakfast in the mornings.
That was so nice. The breakfast was really good.
The breakfast and the room was so pretty. Getting to see all the swallows fly around in the morning, that was probably one of my favorite things of the day. I think that, and the dinners too, having them provided for us from Monday to Thursday was really nice.
Yeah, the dinners were nice. The food in Italy itself was just like
it's
amazing.
incredible.
And gelato every day. Yeah.
And I realized too, as a student, also getting adjusted to living abroad, having some little things taken care of for you was really nice. Like not having to worry about making your own breakfast in the morning, making your lunch, buying your own groceries, and making dinners on top of doing homework, and wanting to actually go out and travel and do things. It takes up time. It takes up a lot of time, and not having to stress about that, and made, I think, Italy for sure a really great experience for that. I found that Germany was better too, just because being in Berlin and it being such a big city, everything was really close, which was nice for at least finding things in Grenoble, France. Even though it is a city, it was like you'd have to take the train, and it would take like half an hour to an hour to get to the grocery store. And then it would take half an hour to an hour to get back. And they would close early, because they had a lot of smaller local stores. And then they didn't have siesta though, which I don't know. I liked siesta, honestly, having time.
I felt like it was like a nice break to this is time to go to bed or sleep or relax.
But so I found it with there, at least everything took a lot of time to do. So I wasn't able to explore as much as I was able to in Berlin and in Cortona.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something that I felt as a student of faith abroad, especially since my purposes of being abroad were mostly supported by my church, I felt that, again, I was able to jump right into a community that understood me. We all shared a similar vision of the world, similar values. And so even though Europe was it's very foreign to me, I was able to kind of land on my feet and then have a hub where if I was having a difficult time, or if I needed some support learning the language or adapting to the community, especially every time I changed countries, everyone kind of treated people differently. I was able to have a support system already set up through my church community and through my faith that was able to keep me going, especially trying to get a hang of being abroad. It was something that was a bit of stability for me.
Yeah, I can understand. Having a common ground to start with and connect with is very important, because even for me, when I was getting involved in student groups, I was with the International Students Association at the UFA, and a few student councils, which the cause which I very passionate about, especially for mental health too. So having a common ground to connect with students, especially coming from different backgrounds, whatever they can be. So having a common connecting point is very important, and that really helps to build the connections. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of like what you said, where everywhere else people might treat you as a foreigner. At least inside the community, inside the church, people treat you as like a brother, you know?
Yeah. For me, I think I'm always grateful for the International Student Services. Now, International Students and Visitor Services, they were the welcome gate for me. They started the orientation for international students, and a lot of friends I made on the campus was through that orientation, and they stayed for long. A lot of students I met was master students, so they graduated. I'm still here. So one of the things which really helped me, at least for my personal experience, is to be open to new ideas, be open to, don't fight with that, like the different, because everything was different here, and I don't want, my basic instinct was to, everything is to treat everything as different. But I think it is, what helped me most is to be open to accept that difference and have that mindset of having instead of just having from a specific place in the world, just be open to the whole world identity. So that really helped opening up to other people's experiences.
Yeah, I think just respect,
Yeah.
respect is important.
Exactly.
Maybe you do not understanding, but just respect them.
Yeah, and having that like respectful conversation, and people come from different backgrounds, identities, culture, language. So having that openness, that really helped me getting involved as well. So there is a barrier to, like, I'm not sure whether you felt that, because for example, in my undergrad, we had a cohort of students. Like, we all go together, take almost 90% of the same classes. So by the end of the 4th year, like, we have a strong bond, because you don't have that barrier to have a connection, right? Because we have the commonality going on. So we have that cohort system was pretty good. But here, at least in the Western system of education, each courses you will meet new students. Like, we don't have a cohort going on, and especially for grad school too, like, it's more of a lonely experience. So without having that cohort, I need to step up. Like, there is a barrier, so you need to put your extra mile to have that connection.
Yeah, so I definitely felt a lot of support from all my hosts. So the way the program worked was that I stayed in different cities for a specific amount of time, depending just on the need for me to be there. And so in every city that I went to, I felt very supported by the hosts and by the program. And with my roommates as well, I made some really good bonds. A lot of them were also either Canadian or American. And so it was really nice to create those kind of social bonds as well. And then, like you said, keeping an open mind, like, that was so important for me, where I had come from Alberta, and I've lived in Alberta almost my entire life. And even though I came from an immigrant family, I was so raised within the Alberta bubble that going abroad, I definitely had to open myself up to some more experiences, and the way that I had lived and where I had lived here in Edmonton was fairly privileged compared to a lot of the people that I got to meet in Europe. And so, especially seeing a lot of them come from some more impoverished and difficult situations where they did have to leave their home to find, better opportunities, more jobs, more employment and housing opportunities abroad. And so being more open to hearing those experiences and kind of sympathizing with them was something that helped me a lot to grow as a person, because I had to understand that everyone had a completely different path of life. Where growing up, a lot of my friends, we all did the same things. We all ended up kind of in similar places. A lot of us ended up going to the University of Alberta to study as well, because that was just what people do. And so being abroad, I definitely, it helped that I had people who were my age in the program as well, to kind of help me keep that balance of, this is like, people are going through some really difficult things, but this is something that I can learn from, and this is something that I could use to help motivate myself to keep working and keep working hard and try new things. And so that was something that was very impactful from my trip abroad, and that the support that I received from my peers in the church and in the community were super helpful in helping me navigate those more difficult conversations that I had with people.
So just to ask, you mentioned you went to the French-speaking part of Europe before you started your undergrad.
Yeah.
And how did that experience help you to choose your field of study? I think psychology, right?
Yeah, so I did an undergraduate in psychology and linguistics. And I mean, I think it helped me a lot to really establish my empathy for people and understanding in different experiences, because that's kind of something that you don't really get to learn in school. And so I felt like upon finishing my degree that if I had not gone abroad, I would not be in the same place developmentally than if I had gone directly into my undergraduate degree. Because I feel like academics was really good, and the instruction was important for me to develop my career. But the people skills and more like open-mindedness that I learned while being abroad was something that could not be taught at the University of Alberta.
I can imagine having the experience to draw from your experience in a global way.
Yeah.
Back to psychology would have been great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So psychology gave me like the tools and the theories, but my experiences abroad were what made me contextualize it all.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is waiting, like, because in China we have a lot of people, so we have a lot of like convenient service, and here most of things need to wait like 2 business week or like several hours just to do some check.
Yeah.
And also after I go out of the hospitals and I go to the universities with one facilities and do the recover, because at the first time I need to use the wheelchairs and the walkers, and after like 2 months of recover and I do exercise in the home, I can like to do as the normal people, what's called normal people, right? I can walk, and even I have 1 ear, so I cannot hear, but if I do not tell other people what happened to me, they cannot see any difference.
Wow. And so the university provided a lot of these like services?
Yeah, support for the social workers, like for the refund and to find a church to let people find me, because it has a large situations and it has a lot of people in the Chinese group, like we have the WeChat to know what things happened.
I think for me, that's the first time I'm in a part of the world where I felt like a foreigner, especially because the culture was very different from what I was used to or what I knew. Coming to Canada was easy because at least every one of us are exposed to the Western culture through media, but Japan is so rich in culture and it's way different from what I was exposed to before. I didn't know the language, and the expectations from others was pretty different. So especially the way we approach the local people and interact with them, the level of respect, and also the level of formality there. So that was one of the huge difference that I felt, because as in India and in Canada, the level of formality is way less. Like even if you can call your professor by your first name, there is not much of a formality there. But when you go back to in Japan, those kind of setting, at least in conference, it's very formal. You bow with every senior person. You don't call them by first name. So I think still they know that we are coming from a different background, but at least if you are in Japan or if you are in Roman, be a Roman. So be respectful of their culture and practices. That is important. So it took me a day or so just to be familiar with the practices. Yeah, that was one of the major differences I experienced there.
Yeah, I experienced that a little bit in Austria as well. I had a couple different professors, and I had only one of my professors was actually from Austria, but that was the one professor that you had to refer to her with her full title and her full credentials. Every other professor was fairly casual, but not that one.
Yeah, and also dressing too. In conferences, you will see it's a very formal way of dressing. Here, I've been to conferences in US and Canada. You can dress whatever you feel like. You can be in even shorts, but there you are very formal. Then, not like you don't have to wear blazer and all, but at least this level of formality is kind of expected. So yeah, I'm not saying in a bad way, but it's
Yeah, exactly.
And how did that make you feel?
Honestly, it was okay for me. It was hot, so it was very humid and hot. So except the fact that I was sweating a lot, I was okay with being in formal dressing at that during the presentations. But immediately after that, I was just back in my shorts and comfortable dressing. But when you see all of them around you in that formal setting, the first day was a bit awkward because you didn't felt mingling with the crowd. You stood out. So after first day was definitely the huge difference for me, but after that it was okay.
Yeah, so I think overall I found the courses to be a bit easier in Vienna than at the University of Alberta, which was a pleasant surprise. I think a lot of people go abroad for the education, but also for the experience to travel around. So it was nice to feel like I had the capacity to do that. In general, I think you also have to plan your schedule a little bit better because their system of credits converts to the U of A system of credits on a 2-to-1 scale. So I had to take 6 courses to be equivalent to 3 U of A. Which I was a bit worried about at first because I never take 6 courses, but it was actually manageable, and yeah, I really enjoyed them. I was able to take kind of a range of courses in different areas. I found there was a lot more group work than like exams and papers, so yeah, it was nice.
Well, I did high school here, but I did go back to, I did high school here, so I didn't have, like, I feel like I transitioned really smoothly, especially so did IB, so, but like I did go back to visit during the summer. Noticed in China, like they definitely have more exams and papers, and Canada is more group work, and then Austria is even more group work, so it's just a big group work for the, so, and yeah, you had to be kind of ready. And also, like, I feel like in Canada, compared to China, you're expected to do a lot of your own studying, almost like you have to do your own readings, and most of the class are like seminar versus lecture, so you have to share with the class versus just take notes. You know, it's like you kind of have to just read your syllabus and do what the professor says. Yeah.
For me, the way of presentation in conference and how you approach in that conference was a bit different from the American conferences. You go in depth, very technical. Applied aspect is there, so that's also appreciated. There's an industry, Japan is known for its automation industry. So luckily for me, I work in that sector, so I didn't have to redo a lot of changes in the way I'm presenting because it was more applied work. But one thing I noticed is that if you are theoretical, you have to portray some of the applied aspect as well in the conferences, because they always look into how your work is being applied in the industry. So the application is given more importance. And also based on my interactions with the students at the Japanese universities, the sense I understood from them is they are more heavier than the Canadian courses. So it's it's the other way around. So
Yeah.
Canada is much easier, but back in Japan, I think they have a very intense course load, packed semesters. So yeah, that's something to consider, I think, because back in India too, I had packed courses, like 6 courses was mandatory in a semester. So in the first year we had 10 courses and then 6 courses each semester. So I think in Japan too, they go for a intense course load. So suggestion would be just prepare yourself with that. They may have a longer semester too, but
I do know on their website, the university website, and they also sent out a few emails from their student group. They had some resources for students with accessibility concerns as well as mental health concerns. I didn't end up using them, but it was good to know that they had them.
And just to ask a follow-up question, so you had to take 6 courses, and with this additional accessibility needs, was that manageable, like without compromising on your work-life balance?
Yeah, it was. Thankfully, I had scheduled my courses to be mostly in the mornings, so then in the afternoons I could rest. I also found because in general the courses were a bit easier, I didn't have to put in the extra hours of studying that I kind of am used to over here. So I would say it was manageable, but I wouldn't have wanted to take too many more classes.
Yeah, understandable. So for me, the conference was hosted by the Japanese universities, Hiroshima University and a couple of universities in Tokyo. And I believe from the start of the registration itself, they were very supportive with providing resources, because most of the documents there are in Japanese and there is no way we can understand that, but they were well supported. We were well supported as students from Canada and US, and they provided all the resources well in advance, how to get into what are Japan, what would be the process there, what to expect. And because thankfully the first part is the getting around in Japan, and thankfully because of the well-connected public transit, it was the instructions were sufficient. We just have to blindly follow the instructions, and they were kind enough to provide all the information that how it would work, and it would definitely meet the instructions there and expectations too. So that's well and good. And in general, the primary language there is in Japanese. So only thing is you may have to use the technology to get around a bit, but in general, I did not face a lot of challenges, except I am a vegetarian, and the Japanese cuisine is mostly non-vegetarian. But I was able to most of the cities currently, Tokyo and Hiroshima, they are evolving compared to 90s and 80s. My professor used to go there 90s and 80s, and he was a vegetarian. He's a vegetarian too. Compared to that time, I think now there are more options, vegan friendly or vegetarian friendly. I would say they are accepting more of the different perspective or needs of international community. So just beyond, I was just expecting that I'll be able to only survive, but I was able to go beyond and enjoy the Japanese cuisine, because I didn't want to eat pizza in Japan. So when I'm in Japan, I really want to explore those cultural, and the food is definitely a major aspect of it. So definitely that was well supported. They will all give flyers if you have specific needs. They will provide the flyers there that these are the hotels or restaurants you can go, these are the foods that you can try if you have specific needs. And in that terms, I think we all were well supported.
That's great.
Yeah. I feel like U of A does offer a lot of options and supports. I know they have the writing center for people who have challenges like English as second language. I think they have a lot of accommodations for people. I feel like the supports are definitely there, but feel like there's definitely hoops you have to jump through to get access to them. You kind of have to know the person, offer the support, or know the location. But then, yeah, they have all the information online as well. Same with like your university. So I feel like options are available.
For UFA, I feel that there is a lot of options available. But as an international student, the challenge I faced was that I did not know that they were available. So it's not, they could do a better job in advertising that there are resources out there. So that helped me really to get involved in student groups and councils or associations to better advertise these options so that students can make use of that for writing, for mental health, accessibility, LGBTQ plus. Everyone, they have peer support center. We have a lot of support out there, but some of them are could do a better job in getting outreach aspect of it, and some of them are short-staffed too. But supports are there. That's a big positive thing if you would like to study in Canada, because those minor aspects of accessibility or being classrooms and the teaching experience accessible, I didn't think of those or see any of them back in India when I was studying my undergrad. But when you see here, and even the small minor things, UFA is trying to make it better for students. That really is amazing.
Yeah, and it's great. I find there's a lot of different options that they can do for accessibility. Like even minor things from getting more time on your exams or changing the color of paper that the exam is on. Like maybe these are things you don't normally think of, but they can really help.
Really understand the Office of Accessibility Student Accommodation really does a good job. As a teaching assistant too, I come to know about various needs of students being supported well in advance too.